Well, I just finished watching episode 2 of The Bad Batch, and while it wasn't as crazy as episode 1, it had its own insights. It had its own special moments that I really enjoyed, and I think you guys did too. I mean, at this point, we have to admit that Dave Filoni has a dad fetish because he keeps making characters into dads. First off, we have The Mandalorian, which ended 5 months ago, and in that time span, we definitely got the feeling that Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, was the space dad for Grogu. That's exactly how the relationship was portrayed, and now we have the same thing happening before our eyes. Hunter is slowly becoming Omega's dad. I don't know, I mean, Dave Filoni definitely has something up his sleeve, and he's churning up these characters, these dad characters, all of a sudden, and me personally, I am happy with it. I mean, it's a great storyline to go through, even though we've seen it again. So, Hunter, welcome to the Space Dads Club, and most of all, this episode showed us that Dave Filoni really knows how to use these characters, as Hunter is being used as the audience vessel for someone new to the series, someone who doesn't know what the Imperial times will hold, in comparison with Tech. Tech is a vessel for the Clone Wars fans, as the nerds who know exactly everything that went on and everything that it's going to happen. The conversations between Hunter and Tech show you exactly how stories are made. We have a character who is not aware of what's happening, and we have another character who explains things in detail. So great episode right off the bat. And for those who missed it, this episode was called Cut and Run. It's basically a cut and run from the Empire. Bad Batch is officially out of the game plan and now are fugitives, together with the resurging character of this episode, which was Cut Lawquane and his family. As we all suspected, J-19, Sector J-19, was the planet of Seleucami, or Seleucami, as the guys call it in this episode. And while our biggest wish was to see Cut Lawquane again, one of the greatest moments in this episode was when the guys landed on the planet. After landing, Omega emerged from the shuttle, and she was baffled, amazed, and had seen nothing of this sort. Just the moment when she catches the sunlight is something spectacular, something that I think we completely overlooked, and Dave Filoni did let us have it. He showed us a moment in time where we should be thankful for sunlight, because Omega on Kamino ever since birth has never had the privilege of sunlight and the privilege of the earth itself. That is what was great about the beginning of the episode. She picked up a handful of dirt and she started waving her hand, stomping her feet around the dirt, playing with the butterflies. It was nothing short of spectacular. It was something that, as I said, we all took for granted. The gang slowly but surely made its way to Cut Lawquane's home, where there were booby traps laid all around. It was great to see Cut again and his improved model. He looked great. Inside his home is where the bulk of the information comes in. Now we understand that just a day before, Rex made it through. He came by Cut Lawquane's house asking for information. Once the question is asked, where did Rex go? Cut Lawquane simply explains that he didn't ask. He just provided shelter, and Rex moved on, talking about control chips. This is where the gang, of course, through Tech, learns more specifically about Order 66 and about the inhibitor chips from Omega and Tech. Both of them explain why the clones are now acting differently and possibly why their former compatriot Crosshair had abandoned them as well. What follows next is kind of crazy, because they immediately go into Hunter and Omega's relationship, rocky relationship at that. Dave Filoni, as I said, is kind of obsessed with space dads, and he immediately makes it clear that Hunter is not fit to be a space dad, similar to the Mandalorian. Omega, playing ball, gets in danger. This is when Hunter is overcome with fear that a Nexu will kill Omega. It is at this point that Sue and Hunter successfully avoid the Nexu and rescue Omega, but this leaves Hunter shell-shocked and not really confident that he can carry a child. This is the point where he starts to make plans about giving Omega to Cut Lawquane since they are now keen on leaving the planet. The Empire has started occupying Seleucami, and it is not a great idea for Cut to stick around with his family. With this, Cut and Hunter make it to the town where they get introduced to the chain codes. Everybody who wants to leave the planet needs a chain code in order to do so. With Cut Lawquane not having one, and obviously not having the luxury to go and register since they will recognize him as being a deserter clone, the gang now hatches a plan to infiltrate the Imperial Brigade and steal and manufacture chain codes for Cut Lawquane's family. In order to do this, Tech comes up with the idea that they need a Trojan horse plan. They need to infiltrate the spaceport by sacrificing their ship. Tech and Echo are inside the ship hiding together with Omega, who subsequently they realize was inside after they hatched the plan. Once the Imperial clones land the ship and clamp it down, this is when the two get into motion. What's interesting to me about Tech and Echo is the similarities between 3PO and R2-D2. Have you guys noticed that? The Tech is obviously a clone 3PO and Echo is kind of an R2-D2. He can infiltrate systems with his right hand, and with Tech's intelligence, it's insinuated that he knows 7 million forms of languages. The similarities are kind of crazy. Then after I realized this, you go to Wrecker, and Wrecker is obviously Chewbacca. And now Hunter is kind of a Han and Luke mix-up, which leaves off Crosshair. I don't know who Crosshair really is. Maybe Vader. But it was interesting to see what kind of a formula Dave Filoni was actually using for our gang now. Whatever the case, Echo and Tech grab some chain codes and Omega delivers them, with the original plan being that Omega will leave with the Lawquane family. This was Hunter's wish, but not Omega's. She comes back with the gang in the end, and it is made for certain that Omega is definitely ride or die with the Hunter gang. The Bad Batch is finally established. There is no more afterthought. So episode 1 was the running away. Episode 2 was the coming together in a sort of way. So episode 3 will start to move on very fast, I assume, with these two episodes establishing the finality of the Bad Batch team. Omega is not going anywhere, and neither are the gang. With Crosshair out of the way, now they can move on about their journeys, and their next journey, I assume, will be them finding Captain Rex and going to the wreckage. The moment when Order 66 really started for Captain Rex. We gotta give a shout out to Wrecker, still training with gonks. Should we call it gonk lifting? That was one of the great moments in this episode. It's serious and yet playful at the same time, which is what these animated series has always been about, really. And to end it all, my biggest amazement, and it hurts really, from episode 1 and now confirmed in episode 2, is the dehumanization of the clone troopers. We spent so much time with the clones in the Clone Wars, watching them develop characters and have their own identity, even colorizing their own platoon. Now it hurts so much more to see that these proto-stormtrooper clones will eventually die and be wiped off. These guys will be replaced by normal stormtroopers, and because we know what these clones once were, we know what they could have been had Palpatine not messed up with their minds. This is why I think, aside from Vader and the Skywalker saga, the clones are by far the most tragic character or characters in Star Wars. I love that we now have a show that's completely focusing on the downfall of the clones, and as I said, showing the dehumanization of the guys we once loved. Not like episode 1. Episode 2 ends kind of up in the air. We don't know where are they going or what's gonna happen next, but as I said, we can assume that they're gonna meet up with Captain Rex next. So I want to know, what do you guys think? What's gonna happen in episode 3? Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.